So I'd like now to invite up Asad Umar, the Federal Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs. Mr. Asad is in the house? He's not? Okay, well, this could be very interesting. We're going to have a conversation maybe without him. How about Mr. Abdul Razak Dawood? He's here with us? Alexander, you and I might have to continue this conversation for a little while till we see what's going on. Do I have Kimihide Ando? Mr. Kimihide is here? He left. Okay. We're on to a really good start here, aren't we? This is the moment that you absolutely love as a moderator up here. Who do we have? Give me a feel for who do we have here now.
Thank you.
So, okay. You'll take it over from here. So there we go. Yeah. So again, looking ahead to see what's happening, I'm going to leave it in your very reliable and your good hands. Thank you so much.
Okay. Pakistan never bores me. Always a surprise. And I got short message from offices of both. They are in the middle of the cabinet meeting, and I heard that they left, but probably they got somewhere stuck. But nevertheless, I'm sure that they will be arriving shortly. And to save the time, being a moderator of the panel discussions, I will save the time by introducing myself, why I'm trying to moderate those two gentlemen, Abdul Azfar asked me to moderate because maybe I've been associated with Pakistan for like 2 decades. 98, I came to Pakistan, seconded to joint venture between Mitsubishi Corporation, where I belong, Japanese, and Anglo Corporations. And the company is called Anglo Asahi Polymers. There, I was posted as a senior marketing advisor, and here I come. Here he comes, Mr. Asad Umar, please, gentlemen. Yeah. And Mr. Abdul Razak Dawood. Yeah. So Asad-san and Razak Dawood-san, I was trying to kind of make time. Anyway, good. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And Asad is, okay. Okay. Good. So thank you very much, Asad-san and Razak Dawood-san. I don't think I need introduction, introducing them, but those people who came from 25 countries, 60 missions, 25 countries. So I know, Asad-san, when you're making joke, you do it in Urdu, and it's nice, but this time I restrict you to speak only English. And that much I know about him. I've been associated with Asad-san for 20 years, and Razak Dawood-san more than 10 years. And that's why I got myself honored to get moderator of the two dialogues. And thank you very much for coming over to these sessions in the middle of a cabinet meeting. They don't have a lot of time, but nevertheless, I will make sure that this dialogue worthwhile listening. Soon after the program is announced, I get a lot of questions from my friends. Ask this, ask that. 50 questions, frequently asked questions, but I will omit most of it, I'm sorry, but the thing that I wanted to highlight soon after I was appointed as a moderator is about SMEs, small, medium enterprises. Because I belong to foreign investors, and I used to be the president of OICCI 2013. So I represented foreign investors. And there are also organizations like Pakistan Business Council, who is constituted by all these big business leaders. But there is a statistic that I need to show you, which one is it? Yes. 2015, OECD and the World Bank Group. There is a statistic saying that SME's contribution on export in each countries. Country like Germany and the USA, SME's contribution on export is between 40 to 50%. But country like Spain, Italy, Portugal, and Turkey, which most probably we can resemble much closer, is more than 60%. And also in the 2014 statistic in Japan, well, I'm from the Mitsubishi Corporation, one of those Mitsubishi groups, supposed to be the big group. But in spite of all of this, 99% of companies in Japan are SMEs. And 77% of employees in Japan are employed by SMEs. So with all of these numbers, I think that I have been having the honor of closely associated with Mr. Razak Dawood-san, and he's also have a passion that all these import substitutions and export, the driver is going to be the SMEs. So would you kind enough to share your thought about it and action you have taken or decision you have taken on SMEs?
Thank you, Ando-san. SMEs certainly are absolutely important for us. And let me just say what we are doing, what we have done, and what is our goals. To make the SMEs play a bigger role in our economy, you've mentioned the very high figures in Japan. We have a very similar arrangement, not as high as 99%, we're much lower. But the number of companies there are about 37,000 SMEs. We've got, they are a major source of employment. Right now, we have given a study to LUMS. They are in the final stages of completing the SME strategy, and they will be coming to us within the ministry in the early part of April. They were supposed to do it on the 22nd of March, but they've asked for a slight extension. What we're trying to do is that where are the bottlenecks to enable SMEs to grow? The bottlenecks are, we have to change the DTRE rules, because the DTRE rules as they stand today benefit the larger companies and not the SMEs. That draft is already with the FBR, and inshallah shortly we'll approve it. Then we have already enhanced the amount of financing that they can get. We have reduced the duties, and it's primarily for the SMEs on the duties on the raw materials and intermediaries in the reform budget that we've just recently approved. I was in Gujranwala, and I've been to Sialkot and Faisalabad, and in discussing them, you could quite easily see that here are a group of people who do not have resources to do the type of thing that a larger company can do, and it's only through reducing the duties and their access to procurement. That access to procurement can improve if we change the rules on the commercial and the exporters who use the benefits. So that we're hopeful in the incoming budget in June that we will be able to reduce that. I feel that SMEs, inshallah, will start playing a bigger role in the exports that we're trying to achieve. And the only missing link that I find very difficult to put in place is that, Ando-san, in Japan, you have a wonderful culture where you've got the very big corporations, the Mitsubishis, the Mitsuis, the Marubenis, etc., who use the SMEs. We don't have that arrangement. How do we get the larger corporations to be able to interface? Either we give them a tax advantage, or we, culturally you've got that. We don't have that arrangement culturally. And that to me is a major link, that if we could somehow put that in place, and quite honestly, I don't have the answer right now as to how to do it. But most of your SMEs in Japan supply to the major corporations. The major corporations do their export, do their quality assurance, etc. That is something that if we could develop, it will be wonderful.
Yes. In Japan, which is a little bit different from Pakistan, is that each provincial government, city government, federal government, in a way or another, volume is varying, but there are special financial organizations, especially for SMEs, where they lend loans, qualified ones, sometimes interest-free or low interest. I would like to throw in this respect to Asad-san that very recently your budget, mini budget, if I understand it correctly, you passed tax incentive loans to micro SME. I mean, what I'm trying to say that you gave the mini budget to bank that the loans to micro, small, medium enterprise, will be charged, the profit out of those loans will be charged 20% against the usual tax that you will impose to banks, 35% to the usual loans. So I think that will be a good idea. I appreciate that it will incentivize banks to loan more to SMEs. But it doesn't really kind of guarantee that the banks will offer them the lower interest. Is there any way that you can are you thinking about anything to make SMEs avail lower interest? I mean, that may be subsidizing in a way, but instead of subsidizing utilities, you can subsidize by giving the lower interest to SMEs, which will kind of requires that kind of the facility. I mean, that either Asad-san or if you are kind enough to.
All right. And I'm not supposed to joke in Urdu about this?
No, that's...
What kind of a restriction is that, Ando? So what we are trying to do is obviously there isn't any one measure which meets all the requirements, so it's a whole host of measures which are being taken. This is to improve the supply side. Yeah. From the bank's perspective, if you're trying to do a business then, and you're trying to reach customers, you look at different schemes which are given to the distributors or the wholesalers, and then you have different schemes which are given to the retailers, right? So you have to think of it in this context. The banks are the wholesalers here through which you are going, and you're trying to incentivize them, because right now the banks really don't have much of an incentive to lend to SMEs. The Q block, which is the finance ministry, has such a voracious appetite for debt that you can be on the golf course in the morning, come to the bank for a few hours, and catch a different golf course in the evening and still make tons of money. So there has to be some incentive created for banks, and it's not 35%, it's 39% actually, which is the lending rate for, or the tax rate for the banks. So that's the principle. However, there are subsidized schemes also for SMEs, and there's more than one of them. But that's obviously limited in terms of the volume of money that can flow through those subsidized schemes, but those do exist as well.
Yeah. Whatever I think is literally existing, maybe you could enhance the...
Let me tell you, Anderson, that's not the bigger issue. If you talk to the SMEs around Pakistan, the bigger issue is availability of credit, not the cost of credit. They're capital starved. That's the bigger issue. So yeah, if I would rather borrow at 6% instead of borrowing at 10%. That's always nicer. But the bigger issue is access to credit. That's the bigger issue rather than the volume of credit. So if you can create incentives where a large volume of credit can flow to SMEs, that will have a more significant impact. Then obviously your ability to give direct subsidized credit is limited. Right? So that's the reason why we have chosen to put some of our money, as I said, not all of it. There are multiple schemes which are in place. Like, for example, for exporters, there is a long-term financing scheme today, which is a 6% fixed rate even today. So that's heavily subsidized credit.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of my favorite joke that I do, I mean, that I share this joke in these days party, because that is that there is one Japanese colleague of mine visited Pakistan for the first time. One fine day he read the newspaper in Pakistan and he asked me questions. Ando-san, Pakistan is a very generous country. I mean, not only non-tax filer doesn't go to jail, but they now allowed to buy more automobile. And that was really interesting, because the non-tax filer in Japan needs to go to jail, or for that part, many countries. And well, I mean that it's very difficult maybe, but if you, Asad-san, can comment on that, I mean, so that I can pass it to my Japanese colleague.
You only know of half the joke. You only know of half the joke because the strongest recommendations for allowing the non-filers to buy cars came from Japanese car manufacturers. How's that for a joke?
So now I understand that he can joke in English also. But seriously, I mean that, well, I'm from the Japan, but I'm regarded as 50-50. So I think that for that account, I support Pakistani decision, initial one, that non-tax filer should not buy automobiles. So let's make myself stand, and there is there. And so since I started on this tax and duties stuff, I mean, that there is one of my closest friends saying that recently Mr. Imran Khan himself, he made in this speech saying that in the tobacco industry, 2 tobacco companies who are holding 60% share of the market is paying 98% of the tax revenue from the tobacco industry. And the rest of the companies, I don't know how many they are, but holding 40% of the market, but paying only 2% of the taxes. And consequently, during the last party, he kindly hosted me. He was saying that his company, either of the two, his company, they are making more money in Sri Lanka. And somehow their operation in Bangladesh is twice as big, because of the competitions of these, how do I say, not level playing field, or whatever you call it. And so he's saying, in the opinion, or I kind of digested in a way that instead of taxing those who are already been taxed, taxing those who are not taxed will make a level playing field also. And eventually, I think that you end up with more tax revenue. Any comments on that?
Yeah, who can disagree with that? Yeah. Everybody agrees with that. The question is, why doesn't it happen? There isn't any law which says that these 2 companies will pay taxes and the others will not. So why doesn't it happen? And the solution, or again, there will be a whole number of measures that you will have to take, but the single biggest piece of the solution will come from technology. There is technology available today to deal with most of these tax evasion issues, which has not been deployed. And that technology is in terms of physical technology. There is a track and trace system which has been delayed for the last 6 years. I think there have been 3 different rounds, and they keep on finding reasons for not doing it, which inshallah ta'ala next month will be awarded. So, and it'll obviously take them a few months to mobilize, and that track and trace system is starting from the tobacco industry first. That's the first application of it. In addition to that, the information technology industry, the data analytics field, artificial intelligence, they all have very, very powerful tools available for identifying the sectors where large-scale tax evasion is taking place. We have been working with World Bank. We've had a report done for 3 sectors, which we have received. It's steel, it's cement, and it's sugar. And there is large tax gaps which are sitting there. Then there are identification of individuals. So what have we done? We changed the laws. You know, the laws of Pakistan did not allow you to employ any of this. You could not go and, first you couldn't access data. The single biggest data availability is with the banks. You could not access that. Second, you could not share this data that was available with people who had technology and expertise. So the first round of things that we did was change those laws. The second is bringing in the right people who will be able to then utilize the new laws and apply this technology. So we've created an FBI policy board for the first time. The law was in place. It had never been put in place. We've got quality people in there, technology people. Second is the technology arm of FBR itself. That's PRAL, the Pakistan Revenue Automation Limited, a institution which is completely controlled by FBR insiders. We've changed that. We've got a private sector dominated board. There's an 11-member board, 6 members from the private sector. The lead is with the private sector. NADRA is a very, very high quality technology organization with the government of Pakistan. I've got the NADRA chairman both on the PRAL board and on the FBR policy board. The data of FBR is now shared with NADRA. The data of FBR has also been shared by World Bank. So global experts on data analytics and artificial intelligence are helping us with that. NADRA has started that work. End of next month, that data will be available. So we are trying to take a more sophisticated, modern approach to dealing with this problem, which everybody agrees needs to be solved. And that's the good news.
Yeah.
The bad news is, as I said in my first speech to those who are evaders, we are coming after you. We are coming after you, and we're not going to stop until we make you pay the taxes that you owe to the people of Pakistan.
Thank you, Asad-san, because you answered my next question, which I said that I was about to say that the penetration of the NADRA NIC card is 80%, and on the while that 80% of population doesn't have the banking account, and something needs to get connected somewhere here, and you can achieve it, and that's there. Asad-san, I heard that you need to leave.
I have to be with the Prime Minister at 1 o'clock, so I've got another 15-20 minutes.
15 minutes. Yeah. Thank you very much. Razak Dawood-san? Okay, thank you very much. And one thing is about this is most frequently asked questions sent to me that you have to ask this. So I will ask it for the friend's sake, and we have all the confidence. And those people who asked me to ask you is also a close friend of yours. I would not name each one of them. They say that we are very much confident in your capabilities, decision-making. You know what to do, but somehow or another, it will not get implemented. And there are certain gaps. And I don't think we should debate what gap. How are you going to tackle those? Or
me or him?
Well, whichever I feel like. Maybe. Do you have any, the difference in your opinions? No. No,
there is no difference of opinion, but there is definitely difference in capability. He is clearly the more capable man.
Okay, so Razak Dawood. Okay.
Go ahead.
Please.
Implementation, or should I? Okay, let me tell you. What are we doing with implementation? First of all is, if for each one of these things that you raise, I will, please note something in my answers. We are trying to address the fundamental structural issues. Everybody has been discussing this. Everybody can tell you that this thing needs to be done. So I remember this meeting in 2001, Governor House in Karachi, and General Musharraf was there. And somebody got up and he said, okay, all of these things that you're talking about, all are a waste of time. There are only three things which matter. Implementation, 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 right? So everybody agrees with that. So what is the first most comprehensive thing that is being done? This is the first government in the history of Pakistan where you have a member of the cabinet whose portfolio is institutional reform. And it's not just any person, it is somebody who is generally recognized to be an authority in the country on the subject, and that's Dr. Ishrat. So how does the civil service work? How are people recruited? How are they trained? How are they promoted? How are federal secretaries assigned their positions? We've just put in, just to give you one example of the kind of changes that we are making, what used to be a fairly ad hoc procedure, now there is a 5-member committee. They sit and deliberate. We just did the selection of the first federal secretary according to this new system. And as it happened, it was the finance secretary, because the finance secretary is retiring on the 21st. And we had this thorough debate, difference of opinion, backgrounds were checked, and now a recommendation will go to the Prime Minister instead of ad hoc appointments. There's a whole host of activity happening there. That's one. Second thing is that in the short run, there is no shortcut to it but to induct talent into the system, right? So again, I'm just using the finance ministry as an example. I'm not saying that's the only place where it's happening. So a large part of the implementation happens through companies which operate under the umbrella of the Ministry of Finance, the banks, the development finance institutions, etc., etc. What have we done there? Then you got regulatory institutions like Security and Exchange Commission. I already told you there was no FBR policy board which existed. Only on paper. For the first time we put in a policy board, quality people, you know most of those people. Security and Exchange Commission policy board. I got a message from, let me not name him because that might get into trouble, but somebody who is in a very, very important position in the capital market right now, one of the most important positions in the capital market. And he said, look, I've been involved with Pakistani capital markets for now nearly 2 decades. I have never seen such a high quality policy board. It always used to be headed by the finance secretary. It's now Mr. Khalid Mirza, one of the leading experts in Pakistan, World Bank background, IFC, has run SECP. So that's what we are doing with the regulators there. Then you come to the institutions. We have the best thing. If people ask me, what is it that you have found to be a negative surprise and what is a pleasant surprise? The most promising positive thing that has happened since we formed the government is, and this is thanks to Imran Khan's credibility, that the best professionals in Pakistan and Pakistanis around the world are willing to raise their hand and say, we're willing to get involved and work. I still remember a meeting. I was chairman of the standing committee for industries in the previous parliament, and my brother was the privatization commission chairman. And I remember asking him, I said, Zubair bhai, look at this steel mill board of directors. Do you think they can actually turn steel mill around? And he said, no. I said, so why don't you change them? He said, no. These are his words in an official meeting with the media present, recorded statement. No good man is willing to work. Give me a name and I will have him put in tomorrow. And the best professionals from around the world are raising their hands. National Bank of Pakistan, CEO that we have put in place, president is an overseas Pakistani. Zarai Tarakkiyati Bank, CEO that we have put in place, overseas Pakistani. NIT, CEO that we have just put in place, Harvard grad, and so on and so forth. So that's the way to do it. Induct talent, the best Pakistanis available, not on the basis of political compulsions. Security and Exchange Commission board, I've got the son of the former Chief Minister of Sindh, who is one of the leaders of People's Party. Qaim Ali Shah's son is on the SECP board because Asad Ali Shah is a quality professional. So no political affiliation, pure merit, pick the best Pakistanis, and trust me, Ando-san, and you know this, you've worked with many of them over the last 14 years. Pakistanis are as talented as any nation on earth. You pick the best of them, put them in the right positions, they'll deliver for you.
Please, Razak Dawood, if you want to please supplement.
To answer this issue of things are not happening, let me tell you what are some of the very fundamental things that we are trying to tackle. And obviously they are such fundamental that they do take time. Over the last 10 years, we have seen in our country a de-industrialization. Industrialization was going down. We have had a culture of importing, bring in the goods from outside, and have a consumption-based strategy. As a result of that, we brought in a lot of imported stuff, but our industry has suffered. What have we gone and done? We have had a tariff structure which was the wrong way around. It was favoring importation rather than manufacturing. We have had an anti-export bias. Now, to change all that mindset, obviously, is taking time. Have we started that process? Yes. Is deindustrialization stopped? I feel it has stopped. Slowly but surely it stopped, and now it is turning around. And I'm very, very hopeful that in the coming months, we will start seeing a picking up of the industrial activities. The other major problem that we face, and in how many industries, I don't want to name them, but name the company, but whether you take footwear, whether you take manufacturing of cigarettes, whether you think of beverages, you talk of paper, you have one or two, maximum 3 companies that may have 50% share of the market, but pay 80 to 90% of the taxes. Now, how are we going to correct this? That's the challenge that we have, and that's what we're trying to work on. That slowly but surely, this thing will happen, and I'm assuring you it will happen. We will be able to turn this table around, and I am confident that with what Asad has just said and what he's trying to do, that we should be able to get the process of Make in Pakistan at the forefront of it, rather than having everything coming in from the outside. And we are seeing the results of this. Already, you're seeing it in the papers that our imports are being compressed, and I hope that they will be compressed more in the finished goods area, and we're giving elbow room for ease of raw materials and intermediaries coming into Pakistan to get our industrialization going.
Thank you very much. As for last comment which Asad Umar-san made to me, I perfectly agree that Pakistan, I mean, for those people who has arrived Pakistan for the first time, I mean that I've been around for 2 decades in Pakistan. I can assure you that P for Pakistan stands for people, talent of the people. And so rest assured, those people who came all the way over to Pakistan, I mean that currently the situation is not so much of the against it because of those tensions, but you came here. I think that please feel it, meet with people, and you will be assured that people here are very hospitable. Since I mentioned hospitable, I think I should only fair to mention one step forward. Hospitality, I think, is the key culture factor of the Pakistan. We Japanese are supposed to be hospitable, but coming over to Pakistan, spending 2 decades, how we were welcomed, and how Mitsubishi are welcome, and how my personality, as my person welcomed is amazing. Hospitality in Pakistan is amazing. It's good, but there is always the flip side of the coins. Pakistan regard once friends, forever friends. Once guests, forever guests. And flip side of the coin is that those guests who are at least behaving nicely in your house, whether they do it outside, bad or good, is none of your concern because they are guests. But I think that, I know that I respect this culture very much, I love it. But since Pakistan is living in a global world, I think that these things you may need to a little bit compromise. You know what I'm implying to. And I don't go further, but if I, Asfar, where are you? Yep. For this, I know that everybody wants to raise a hand and make a question, but for the sake of the time control, because that it will, I know, that get a little bit out of control, and we keep on, have to make him wait for 10, 15 minutes, which he won't be able to afford. So I think that a big round of applause to them for just came over to attend this meeting in the middle of cabinet meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much. And if I could call Dr. Amjad Waheed to the stage for a vote of thanks, please. Ali Akai standing by because I do understand the ministers have to leave.
We are very thankful to the Finance Minister and Advisor to Commerce for taking time out to be here. Pakistan needs reforms on a lot of sides: governance, power sector reforms, social sector reforms, taxation reforms. So it's like a bit of a surgery that needs to be done. So when a patient has surgery, the thing that gives the patient the most confidence is the competency, quality of the surgeons. So one thing we can be assured that with the Asad Umar being here, who has actually run the largest private sector company in Pakistan, in fact, helped make it the largest private sector company in Pakistan, and Mr. Razak Dawood, renowned industrialist and the largest Pakistani multinational company which operates in 6 countries with 30,000 employees. So they have the right background. They actually have been more on that side, and now they're on this side. So this is a comfort to us, and we are hopeful that with their action, with their competency, they'll be able to carry out these reforms. And my suggestion to them would be, the earlier the better. You know, this government is been there for 6 months. They have another 6 months of honeymoon period. So whatever difficult reforms they need to carry out, they should carry out within the next 6 months, and still blame it to the old government. After that, nobody will take that excuse. So best of luck to the gentleman here.
We'll join them for the photo. Join them for the photo. Dr. Amjad, thank you so much. Is Alexander Shulgin in the house? Alexander, are you here? Alexander Shulgin, we'd really love to also give you a token of our great appreciation. So Asfar Ahsan and Ali Al-Kai, just giving a token of appreciation. This beautiful book on Pakistan. Obviously, all of you who live here know how beautiful the countryside is. I've been here a few times and got to see small glimpses of it. But hopefully I'll get a chance to look around in greater detail and really see this beautiful country of yours. Last night we did get to have a look at a lovely bird's eye view of the city, of course, from the hills, and see the stars. And you don't see the stars in Dubai, so it was very, very beautiful. I'm sure you don't probably see them from the city too much, but once you go a little high up here, it was quite a beautiful sight. So it's my first glimmer of the beauty of Pakistan. So once again, to the honourable ministers, we're very, very grateful they've joined us.